Welcome to Dream Farm. Ethan's with me today and we're going to start planting. I'm a little bit late. I coach track at the Iowa City West High School, and we just got wrapped up the season at the state track meet. We had a really good season. So that was exciting, and it was hard to get away during the part of the season where everything was heading towards the championships to get here and plant. So we're a little bit late, but we've got a new planter that I'm going to work with, the RTP Genesis, and I'm going to plant beans with that. And then before I'm done, I'm going to plant some of the Whitetail Institute blends also in a few spots. We've got some corn and sorghum to go in, and like I said, I'm going to focus on some of the Whitetail Institute blends. So I'll talk about those a little bit too as we go along, but first I've got to get that drill hooked up, and we'll get some beans in the ground. Ethan, do you have a role to play?
Camera guy today, I guess. Open up bags of seed corn and
there
beans,
we go.
I guess.
Carry stuff.
Yeah. Plant trees.
Yeah, he's a good manual labor. No, I'm glad to have him here. So let's get to work. Dream Farm is brought to you by Whitetail Institute Food Plot Blends, the Hunt Stand Pro Whitetail app, Hoyt Archery, and RTP Outdoors. Just finished up planting my first field with the RTP drill. I really love this no-till because even today, we're sitting after about a week now with no rain, and there's no rain in the forecast, but there's plenty of subsoil moisture. But as soon as you till it, as soon as you disc it up, then it's going to dry out, and then you've got to wait for the rain in order to get germination. So hopefully the beans that we put in the ground now, I put them in about 1.5 inches roughly, so they got into some moisture, and they should hopefully germinate and put roots down even though there is no rain coming. That is the beauty of no-till. Plus you don't disturb the soil, and there's been a lot of studies done on that value, of doing no-till versus tillage. But we got a few more fields to do, and then I'll have the bean planting wrapped up, and then I'll move on to something else. The co-op just dropped off a fertilizer cart, so that's how I'm going to fertilize my corn ground. It's a good way to do, 5, 6, 10 acres, whatever you got to do. 1 acre you can probably get with bags in an ATV, but you start getting much over that, and these fertilizer carts are really nice. So keep on moving, keep this project going, and try to get all this stuff done today and tomorrow morning. Now I've got to get some corn in, and I'm also going to plant some sorghum up here, and then also a blend from Whitetail Institute.
I know in the past couple episodes ago we discussed if you were going to put corn or sorghum up here.
Right.
So what did you decide?
To do both.
Okay.
Yep. We'll find out what works. Okay. We'll let the deer tell us. Rather than us assuming that we can't plant corn here, we'll at least try it.
Yeah.
So we're going to put in, I think there's 3 acres up here. We got about 1/2 acre that we put that clover trail. Mm-hmm. That was a few weeks ago. And then that's coming in good. We'll show you that. But there's a lot of ragweed coming in with it. So 2 options there. You can either wait until it starts to grow up a little bit bigger and then mow it, which will clean up the ragweed. Or you can spray it with a broadleaf selective herbicide that will kill broadleaves in clover, but not kill the clover. All we're going to do right now is just no-till this corn in. And we're going to stay just to the side of the spot where we planted the clover. And then on the very outside, we're going to put sorghum. We're going to drill that in tomorrow using that, the G8. And then we're going to plant Power Plant, which is a pretty cool blend that Whitetail Institute has that has vining soybeans and vining peas. And they have sun hemp, and I think there's a little sorghum in there too that the stuff vines up. So we're going to put that around the outside. Hopefully that'll protect the corn when the ears are most vulnerable to the deer. So that'll be a cool blend for us to experiment with. I've never tried that one, and I know that some of our viewers had said that on this plot, because of how much deer damage we got here last year, that we should go with blends. I still want it to be corn and sorghum from a huntability standpoint. I want to be able to sneak through here to get to the tree stands up on top. So we're just going to try a little of everything. We're going to have...
It's like a garden.
Yeah, it's going to be...
Deer garden.
Yeah. We'll just see what the deer do up here. So what we're doing right now is just planting the corn. I've got a 30-inch row corn planter that I bought cheap. We spread, what did I put on here? For nitrogen, I think I had 150 or 160. I think I had 150, 60, 60, plus some sulfur was my fertilizer blend. Got a fertilizer cart and brought it up here. Seed next, then herbicide. And this plot will be a really cool one to follow, an instructional one to follow through the summer. So we've got so many things that we did here. We'll see how it all worked. I'm going to put the Imperial Whitetail power plant right next to the trail that we made using their whitetail clover, the Imperial Whitetail clover. It'll be interesting to see how the deer react to the different stuff. You know, and we'll do the best we can to provide the right fertilizer and the right herbicides for each one of these zones. It's going to be a little bit tricky because some of them take different things, you know, so you can't just broadcast or spray through the whole field. So now I'm going to get the power plant in. But I know earlier I was talking about it, I thought it had sorghum in it, but it doesn't. It's got peas, and it's got vining soybeans, it's got sun hemp, and it's got sunflowers. So those are the taller structure for the vining plants to go up. So we can pull up it's all right on there. You can see it. What does it say? I haven't got my reading glasses on.
Hutchinson soybean, iron and clay, cowpeas. I'm not even gonna try. Sunflower, sun hemp, other crop seeds.
Ooh, other crop seeds. A little secret.
Yeah, you just don't know.
Yeah. And they recommend this 25-pound bag for roughly 3/4 to 1 acre. We're going to try to get it all in about 3/4 of an acre because our deer are probably going to hit this spot pretty hard. Just, you know, we've seen that, you know, over the past, well, what we saw last year anyway. So we're going to put this in first, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to close off every other row to get 15-inch rows on the sorghum, and we'll plant that in last. That way we'll know where this stuff runs out, and then we can run the sorghum out from there to the edge, rather than, you know, trying to plant the sorghum first and then guessing and then getting it wrong. I got the power plant planted, and I ended up probably planting it a little bit heavy. I'm guessing maybe 150% of the rate, but they did recommend that if it's an area where the deer are going to hit it a little bit harder. We'll see. I don't know what they're going to do here. I mean, we've talked about it. We don't have tons of deer, but for some reason they really hammer this spot. So now I've gone ahead and I've covered every other opener or every other dropper on the RTP G8. This is an 8-foot wide. Let's see how many I've got in here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So there's 14 droppers. I covered 7 of them. So I've got 15-inch rows, 7 15-inch rows is what I'm going to plant my sorghum at. And I do like planting it on 15-inch rows. I've done that before. I know a lot of people recommend wider, and I've planted them on 30-inch rows too with the corn planter. But with the 15, you still get, as long as you don't get too much seed in, you still get a really nice growth, but you get more shading of the ground, so you don't have as much open space for the weeds to come up. So it canopies a little bit quicker. And it's hard to control weeds in sorghum. Gosh, I've done a lot of research on it, and you know, I'm sure the people who do it for a living have got some secret methods, but from my experience, the only way you do it is to kill what you can at the same time that you plant and hope that your sorghum outcompetes the weeds. So that's what we're doing here. I've got about maybe an acre total of sorghum I'm going to put in, and it goes roughly 10 pounds to the acre. Well, that wraps up today's action. Beautiful, beautiful day. Wow. Jordan was on the drone, and I'm sure she got some pretty cool stuff. She's got a really good eye for that.
It's hard to take a bad video when it's this pretty though. Like,
yeah.
I mean, I think I just flew it for like 30 straight minutes because it just kept getting prettier as the sun set, but it's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's gorgeous up here. So we've got seeds in the ground. We've got corn, clover, power plant, some beans around the outside, and some sorghum. So hopefully we didn't load it up too much. I think I kept everything pretty well separate so we're not overlapped. I'm going to come back again here in the next day or two and spray it, kill what's up, fertilize the power plant, and that's it. Then we just got to pray for rain. So we'll bring you a really quick recap when we're back here spraying and fertilizing. This is a herbicide that Whitetail Institute makes called Arrest Max, and it will clean grass out of clover. And a lot of times I don't spray when there's broadleaves in the clover, just because I know I can come back and mow it, and that usually will clean it up really well. But it's really hard to get grass out without spraying it. And I've got the young clover up on top of the ridge there, and I want to give it every chance to survive. I don't want the grass in there sucking the moisture out of the ground. So I'm going to go up and kill it. There's probably 1/4 of an acre. This will do an acre. So you can see all this grass down in here. Like I said, the broadleaf weeds will clean up fairly easily with the mowing, but normally you can't get the grasses out that way. And Whitetail Institute does make a herbicide that will take broadleaves out of clover, but that would be a last resort for me, because I like to just mow them and clean it up that way first. And if that doesn't work, then you can use the herbicide, but there's no way to get the grass out short of spraying it. So that's what we're doing here. We got a little stretch where this clover was planted down this lane. I sprayed everything else around it, but I haven't sprayed this lane. So I'm getting that cleaned up right now. I got all the grass that was in that strip. There wasn't as much as I thought, so I've still got quite a bit of spray left in the backpack sprayer, quite a bit of the chemical. So I'm going to spray an area over here where there's some young trees coming up in the grass, and this will do the same thing there. This herbicide will kill the grass but not the trees, which is kind of cool. So it will release those trees to grow better in that grassy area. It's something you can do if you've got an area like that where you've got trees trying to compete with grass. In fact, we'll do some of that in the area where we planted the wild plum and the choke cherry this spring. We'll go ahead and spray some of this chemical on the grass around those trees so that the grass doesn't take all the moisture. So the next task is to fertilize the power plant that we planted a couple of days ago. And on the packaging it says get the soil test, and I did get a Whitetail Institute soil test done, and it was high in P and low in K. Is that right? No, low in P and high in K, and nitrogen never registers, so we're going to put in whatever nitrogen the plants are going to need for this year. We got the main stuff done up here, but before we wrap up and do our conclusion, I'm going to have you hold this. We've got a little experiment that we're going to do. I've heard people talk about pumpkins, that deer like to eat pumpkins, and I've never seen it or tried it. So we bought some, what does it say?
Seed needs Connecticut Field pumpkins.
Connecticut Field. 200 of them.
110 day.
110 day pumpkins.
Heirloom.
They like to be planted in the sun, I guess. So we're going to find some place right along the top of this ridge here.
An inch under topsoil.
Mounds of 4. So that's it, and we'll wrap up after that. Here's our spot. 200 seeds. 200
seeds, gives it 4.
I'm not digging 50 mounds. That sounds like way too much work. We'll do some, and then we'll throw the rest of them in the weeds.
And just hope for the best.
Yeah. Okay,
you want to tell the people that?
The ground is already loosened up quite a bit, so we're not going to make mounds. We're just going to stick seeds into the ground in groups of 4. So I'm just going to take a handful, give Jordan a handful. So Jordan's going to get some, and then that's all you get. Oh.
Thank you.
Okay, so we'll start putting them in the ground. Group 3, 4. Inch deep. Oh.
Oh, well.
There. Let's see, there's another one. Got on your chin. Time for us to close this thing out. We really focused on this one field, but I have planted the whole farm now. All of my plots are in. I think I ended up with probably about 8 or 9 acres of beans and probably 5 acres of corn and sorghum. The one bottom field, we called it the scrape tree. That's one of our key spots on the farm, and that's in corn. Went to a lot of trouble to make sure that that one is going to turn out well. I mean, hopefully they all will, but I mean, I spent extra time on that one. So then on this field, like I said, going from west to east, we've got power plant, whitetail clover. Those are 2 Whitetail Institute products. Then we've got corn, and then we've got beans and sorghum, and pumpkins now. We put a few pumpkins in. I'm not sure if they'll grow or not. We put them right into the sorghum, and so.
We did like the bare minimum, worst ever pumpkin planting
Yeah.
protocol.
Yeah, but if something happens, then we know what to do next year. I mean, let's just say that we get something.
Yeah.
And we see some positive response to it, then maybe we'll try some more of it in the future. So now it's just going to be waiting for the rain, and we'll bring you some updates, show you some of these spots once they get going, and really change the farm, because now we've got food all over the place, so it should really spread the deer.
Because it used to be just a lot of kind of, I won't say wasted because it was used for pasture, but it didn't really serve any purpose for deer. And you've replaced almost all of that now, haven't you?
Yeah. Yeah, and last year we only had 2 plots.
Yeah.
We had the one in the valley by the scrape tree, then that one where you killed your buck.
Yeah.
And now we've got a bunch more. We're going to put in probably 2 or 3 into the winter greens this summer. 2 small spots, little kill plots. We do have the redneck blind. No, not the redneck blind. The redneck hunting cabin.
Clubhouse.
Yeah.
Doghouse.
Redneck Country Club. So that did show up, and we'll talk about that sometime in a future episode, someplace too. But we've got. My thought is we'll put that someplace up on one of these ridges, and we'll use that for like a little stopover when we're hunting up here, rather than going all the way back down to the property or to the living quarters. We'll just have that someplace up here where we can like sleep there for the night, rather than sleeping out at under the stars. So that's it. A lot of little stuff, and I'm sure that hopefully we're able to shorten this down enough so that it was interesting enough to watch. But we're done for the spring, and that's nice because it's not quite June yet, but you always want to try to have everything in the ground before June if you can. Well, we appreciate you joining us. We'll see you right back here again next week for the next episode of Dream Farm. And remember to always
Dream big.